Good afternoon, all, and thank you for joining me today to listen to a relatively brief overview of our small islands of Japan expedition cruise series with Coral Expeditions. My name is Will. I'm a member of the Coral Expeditions sales team. I'm not based up at our Cairns head office, but down in sunny but pretty chilly Brisbane today. And like I say, the aim today is just to provide a bit of a brief overview of the two kind of Japanese focus sections of this expedition cruise series. We are recording today's presentation, so I think if you have to drop out or go and answer the door for any reason, you will get a recording emailed direct to you over the next 24 to 48 hours. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to pop them into the chat function on your computer today. And myself and my colleague Steve, who I'll introduce you to shortly, will do our best to answer as many of these as we can at the end of the presentation. I'll try and keep this to a pretty kind of concise 35 minutes or so. And so depending on how long we go, we've got a lot to cover. If there's any questions that I can't cover live in this presentation, I'll reach out to you all direct afterwards or first thing tomorrow morning. So without further ado, whilst we've only been offering expedition cruise itineraries in Japanese waters for the last couple of years. Our 2024 season and 2025 season will be our second and first kind of editions of our expedition cruise series. We've been offering, true small ship expedition cruise itineraries now for the last 40 years. And we operate with that single purpose to take small groups of like-minded explorers to really kind of remote wilderness places with that kind of expert guidance and warm Australian hospitality that Coral Expeditions are known for providing. So we are 100% Australian owned. We cruise under the Australian flag, and we have pretty much an exclusively Australian onboard crew, admittedly with a handful or sprinkling of Kiwis amongst them. And we provide that kind of relaxed, informal, kind of true Australian style of hospitality while still maintaining that very, very premium onboard experience. And we do this in true expedition style. So it's small groups and no waiting. We offer the maximum capacity on the ship Coral Geographer, which I'll come on to shortly, for this cruise series of maximum 120 guests. So there's no allocated shore excursion times, no queuing, no waiting. We can on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes, utilizing the Explorer tenders you can just see off the back of one of our expedition vessels on the screen. So a true Australian style expedition experience, small groups and no waiting. I mentioned the Explorer tenders. Many of you joining us today would probably have cruised with Coral Expeditions previously, be that in the Kimberley, Tasmania, domestically in Australia, or across the kind of very varied itineraries we offer across the Asia Pacific region. So you're going to be more than aware of the real benefits and value of these Explorer tenders. They are unique to Coral Expeditions. We've designed and built these ourselves, and they provide the kind of perfect conduit between our mothership vessels and the really kind of varied but predominantly remote wilderness destinations, which is the Coral Expedition sweet spot. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You can read on the screen some of the kind of key points of our explorers, but I will point out that we've got comfortable seating for up to 70 guests. On Coral Geographer, the ship that we're going to be using for this Japanese expedition series, have 2 of these on board. And again, it's the main reason why there's no queuing, there's no waiting, and we can on and off board in under 15 minutes. We've got a sunroof on the top, crucial in places, the predominant tropical and subtropical waters, which is again the Coral Expedition sweet spot. We've got a toilet on board for that kind of remote convenience, and that might not sound like a particularly big deal, but it completely avoids the need to keep returning to the kind of mothership to use the toilet facilities. We've got a couple of high-powered 300 horsepower motors on the back, which again means we can cover large distances in relatively short amount of time. And again, it really helps to maximize your shore excursion time. You've paid, let's be honest, a considerable amount of money to experience these kind of epic destinations throughout Japan, and we can get you there in comfort and speed, so you can maximize your time ashore. Moving on, the Explorers are perfect for the majority of places where we go to that don't have any harbour facilities. So both wet and dry beach landing. So a dry beach landing on the top left, wet landing on the top right. And then the images in the bottom centre and bottom left is the boarding procedure. So you'll see the hydraulic platform in the bottom centre image there. This is how it on and off boards when you go away on excursions, when we're away from those more formal harbour facilities. And there's no steps or ladders to contend with. So we just gently raise our explorer tenders up to one of the main decks using that hydraulic platform you can see. And then the bottom left image there is the boarding procedure. So you can see it's direct straight off one of the main decks. There's no steps or ladders to contend with. You just walk on, take your seat, you're gently lowered into the water, and then away you go on excursion. And then obviously for the onboarding procedure, it's exactly the same, just in reverse. We pull up to that hydraulic platform, gently raised up to one of the main decks, and then you step off and back onto the ship. So it's the perfect way of, again, maximizing your time ashore on excursion. It's a really simple on and offboarding procedure. But again, most of you joining us today are going to be more than aware of the benefits of these unique explorer tenders. That being said, we also complement the explorers with the more kind of traditional Zodiac inflatables. So where applicable, you guys get to pick and choose, how adventurous or not you want to be on a day-by-day or case-by-case basis. So onto the ship. I'm not going to go into too much detail today. We would be here for far too long, and we've got a lot of kind of product to cover shortly. But for the cruise series in 2024 and 2025, we're going to be utilising our newest vessel, Coral Geographer. She was launched in early 2021. She has a maximum capacity, like I said earlier, of 120 guests spread across 60 staterooms. And all you really need to know at this stage is all of our cabins and staterooms are outward facing. There's no internal cabins. Many, as you can see from the image, come with private balconies, and there's a large range of both kind of in and outdoor public bar and dining areas, so you can just sit back, sipping a cheeky gin and tonic or glass of wine and watch these absolutely stunning kind of Japanese vistas drift by. If you want any more information on this particular ship, please jump onto our genuinely excellent website where we give you full deck layouts, loads of images, videos, ship walkthroughs, you name it, the website will provide it. So please jump on the website and peruse to your heart's content. But again, if you've got any questions, please reach out to us at our res and service teams based up at our Cairns head office, or your travel agent for that matter, and they're going to be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So moving on to the crux of today's presentation, joining us, we're really lucky to have one of my colleagues, Steve Cox. Steve has been an expedition leader with Coral Expeditions, and then currently is a member of our product development team, again based up at the Cairns head office, and he's played a pretty major part in putting together these small islands of Japan expedition cruise series, and hopefully is going to be the expert that just provides a bit of an overview and insight into what we're going to be doing on a day-by-day basis. I will stress that we're not going to go through exhaustively on a day-by-day basis across these kind of two focused itineraries. Again, jump onto the website, guys. We give you full detailed day-by-day itineraries, loads of images, videos, you name it. You will have it direct off the website. But again, you can reach out to us anytime, and we're always happy to chat all things Japan. So thank you, Steve, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Right, without further ado, on to our first itinerary through the heart of Japan. It's 14 nights, Tokyo to Fukuoka. We've got a departure in September later this year, but it's absolutely sold out, as it was in 2023. We've taken the feedback from our guests from 23 and from the current kind of booking status as in sold out in 2024, and we've actually trebled the number of departures that we're going to be offering in late 2025, just based off the success of the previous trip and the fact that we sold this out incredibly quickly. So we've trebled departures in 2025, a couple in October, one in November, as you'll see on the screen. So without further ado, over to you, Steve, and our first destination on our Through the Heart of Japan itinerary.
Thank you. So out of Tokyo, it'll be a sort of a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock boarding time, and then the ship will depart about 7 o'clock, and it's about a 12-hour run around to the port of Shimizu. You'll be alongside in the morning. there'll be hiking activities of various different degrees. You can really stretch your legs out, or you can do shorter ones. And in the afternoon, Shimizu is famous for its highland tea plantations. And so we'll be heading up there in the afternoon, but also be able to actually walk the trails around the tea plantation areas, as well as the actual buildings where the tea's processed. So it's a very active day in Shimizu. It's a beautiful place, great views, as you can see, and it's a good way to kick things off. Xingu, we had really good feedback last year about Xingu. It's famous for its Daimonzaka trails. So these are trails that were first constructed many, many years ago for monks in particular to be able to move from religious area to religious area. And these still exist. So we get out and there's longer walks, shorter walks. So you can really just pick the length that you want to do. If you want to test out some stairs, you can. There's flatter areas, spectacular scenery, as well as some really interesting monasteries as well. And it's all based through these huge, big, tall cedar forests as well. The climb up to the top, from memory, the very top part is 467 steps, I think. And that's nestled way up high in the top of the hills there. So it's a really good day, really, really interesting to get stuck into it. And I think what I enjoyed most about there is the scenery, just being around all really beautiful forest areas. Thanks, Will. We go into the Port of Kobe, and the reason we use the Port of Kobe is because it gives us really good access to both Kyoto and Osaka. And so what we do is you get a choice. You can choose to spend the day visiting Kyoto. So you'll go from Kobe Port. It's about an hour or so into Kyoto, and there's a number of historic temples and castles. We'll blend that in with the very new parts of the city and the old. There's local lunch at a restaurant before you return back to the ship. And Osaka, something a little bit different if you want to get away from sort of the temple side of things. We do visiting down to Dotonbori, into the Kurumon markets, which are always great fun. There's free time there as well. We have a street food time where we go along and sample lots of different foods along there. And then the guides will hand out some yen for lunch, and you guys can head off and just enjoy your own lunch down the street there. We'll head up to the Umeda Sky Building, which has got fantastic views right at the top there. It's quite spectacular before we head back to the ship. So those are the two options there. Thanks, Will.
Cool. And I put a few slides in for Kyoto here, but we've covered those, I think.
Okay, so Tokushima, a much smaller place. It's a real change from having been at those two sort of larger cities. This is very small, and it's famous just off its coast for the whirlpools. And you get a chance as you're driving, as we're off on where we're heading off to stop and have a look. It's quite surprising. You think, oh, it's just a whirlpool, but these things are actually really spectacular to see from above, where it goes through these narrow points and forms these giant whirlpools. We're going to have the opportunity to get into the local townships and do a little bit of shopping in there. There's some really neat shops, really small little local shops to visit in. And then there's hiking tracks up above the township, which provide really great views looking out over the township and down onto the township as well. They've got this really interesting museum there that has got, well, I would say it's hundreds of pieces of artwork in there. And they have these huge, and I mean huge, massive replicas of the Sistine Chapel, which is very Japanese, but it's really well done. And I was quite surprised to see it there, but there it was. You can walk down the streets between the different temples as well. And to finish up, they've got a very famous sake brewery there, and the guests had quite a fun time at the brewery at the end of the day there last year. So it's a really neat day. Okay, so Shiroshima, it's an island, and it's famous for a few things. Its noodles is one thing, but it's got a really spectacular ropeway. And you'll have the opportunity to get up and take a ride up to the top, or you can stop halfway and you can hike up, or you can hike all the way up and all the way down. You can take your pick. It's famous also for, it has the Shiroshima soy sauce district, and you can see it and you can smell it when you're around that area. But they have some of Japan's finest soy sauce. What the guests really enjoyed last year was having a crack at making noodles. I can officially tell you that I am useless at making noodles, but some of the people were fantastic. It's quite a skill, but you can have a crack at doing that and see how the experts, the masters, do it as well. So it's a really good day mixed up with some craft activities and hiking as well. And of course, the local soy sauce factories. Hiroshima. So we've got a couple of activities this day. Miyajima and Hiroshima. Hiroshima is the biggest city. Miyajima is a small island that's by ship about an hour away from Hiroshima. So what we're going to do here is do Miyajima in the morning. I know it says the other way around, but we're just going to work the tide here, and it works better in the morning. So we'll do Miyajima, which is a small island, in the morning. Really great place where you have to take the zodiacs from the ship through the gates and onto the island. It's really easy landing, and you can just walk all the trails around there. It's a really beautiful place. Loads of deer that are really friendly that will come up right up to you, and you can pet them. There's little restaurants around there and food places. And our guests last year just really enjoyed the quietness of the place in the morning. And then we'll head back to the ship. Whilst you're having lunch on board, the ship will transit over to Hiroshima, and around about 2:00 you'll head off. And we'll do a guided tour of the A-bomb area as well. And it's really interesting, and they do it really well, really tastefully as well. And what we're going to do this time is people felt that it'd be really nice if there was free time just to explore. So we've taken that advice on board, and we'll do that. There's also a really good museum as well. You can, if you want to tack on a guided tour at the museum or around the park area, we can do that for you. So also, it's a really good opportunity. The ship will be there to about 11:30 at night. So it's really easy to get off the ship, and it's an easy stroll into the city if you want to go to a restaurant and have dinner in town. Very easy to do, and a lot of guests took that up last year. There's many, many great restaurants, local Japanese restaurants close to the ship. So you can get off and enjoy some Japanese cuisine and drinks, and then stroll back to the ship before she departs. Thanks, Will. Matsuyama, yes, thank you. So this is another ropeway or hike. You can take your choice. If you're fit and able, you can hike up to Matsuyama Castle. It's one of the largest original castles that's left in Japan. It's a really interesting place to visit. If you can't hike up, they've got a ropeway that you can use to get up there as well. There's the Ishiteki Shrine as well. And then after we've done that, you'll have a chance to have some lunch. And then it's a really interesting township called Dogo, which is a fishing village area. Really beautiful with lots of great little shops and places to poke your head into. So we'll offer that up. Or if you want to try an onsen bath experience, which a few guests did last year here, they had a great time. The locals made them very welcome and showed them how it all happens and works. So you're welcome if you want to try an onsen bath experience, you can do that there. And Karatsu, we're just still working on exactly what we're going to do there. There is Karatsu Castle and a few other things. You'll definitely see the castle. It's a bit of more of a modern one inside. It's been redone, which a number of castles have. But we're just working on, and obviously you can see there's a couple of walks to do up high, but we're just working on a couple of other things as well, just to make that a really good day at Karatsu. Thanks, Will. And Tsushima, so no tea, Tsushima. Really fantastic place, one of my favorite places. Really good chance to get out with the local guides, and there's really good walking trails, hiking trails through oak and cedar forests, and you can hike right up Mount Shimizu Trail, and at the top there's the castle ruins, and there's 360-degree views right on top up there, and you can see the forest that you make your way through. So really good walking, beautiful scenery, and really good guides there as well. If it's not, the long hike's not your cup of tea, there's a moderate walk to the first viewpoint. You can take in the local museum, which is really good. They've got stuff in there dates back to about the 14th century. So there's really interesting stuff inside there. And there's also Izuhara, which is the local traditional township there, that you can just, if you don't want to do walking or hiking, we can definitely get you there with a guide, and you can just enjoy that little traditional township. What we do there after this day is we clear out of Japan. I know that sounds a bit funny, but Japan, like a lot of country, has a cabotage regulation, the same as Australia does. If you're a foreign ship, you have to clear out of Japan for one night and then come back. It's a funny rule. It's been around for centuries, but what we have to do is clear out of Japan. So Jeju is the closest, Jeju Island, which is part of Taiwan, South Korea. So we will just head overnight into Jeju, and whilst the ship is doing its clearance into Jeju, they usually give us permission to head off, and there'll be the Songyup Folk Village. There's the Seong Sunrise Peak, which is a UNESCO site. We'll have lunch at the local restaurant. We're still waiting to hear about the lava cave, which is another UNESCO site, but they are starting to revamp that cave. So they haven't announced. It's supposed to be open when we go there, but we're waiting to see. And hopefully in the next week or so, we'll know yay or nay about whether the authorities there will have the lava cave open. There's nothing we can do about it. It's affecting everybody, but we just have to wait and see. We're on that cusp, I think, of them finishing, or whether they'll not be finished. Anyway, we'll sort that out, and then we'll be back on the ship, and then the ship transits from Jeju back into Japan. Thanks, Will. And transit point back into Sasebo, so the Japanese officials will stamp us back in, and the ship, and that'll be about lunchtime, and then we'll have an afternoon visit there, and we'll be heading into Arita Township, which is Japan's most famous place for porcelain. There's lots of little porcelain shops there to purchase items. We have free time around there. There's a great shopping area near the port, which is walking distance, and there's great viewpoints over what they call the 99 islands around there. So it's just half a day, and then we'll be on our way. So Phuket, that'll be the day after. If we took it down to Aokata, well, it'll be one down.
I don't have that in a slide.
Sorry. Oh, okay, all right. So you've just mixed them in together there. I see that. Yeah, so we've got Aokata and Phuket, which are two islands very close together. And at these places, there's hiking that's available. At Phuket, you got Ondake volcano, and that's an extinct volcano, but it's really excellent hiking with our local guides right up to the top. And you can get fantastic views looking down upon, as you can see, the port area and the surrounding islands. If you want to do a shorter hike, you can, just an easier walk. There's also, we can mix that in with the local Dozaki church, which the guest that did that last year found very interesting. Just so you can mix up the hike in Dozaki church, or you can get out and do that sort of much longer, most of the day hike up into Ondake.
All good, thank you, Steve. And that's, like I said at the beginning, it's a very, it's not an exhaustive overview of a minute by minute, day by day. Again, please jump onto the website for all of that information, or reach out to us direct, and we're always happy to have a chat. But moving on to our next and final kind of focused itinerary today, our second Japan-focused one, so through Japan's Ryukyu Islands, 16 nights, Fukuoka to Keelung over in Taiwan. We've got literally handful of staterooms left for our October departure this year in 2024. So if you still haven't got your travel plans sorted for later this year, then the trip might well be for you. But obviously we're running this same itinerary in November 2025. So we've got plenty of availability left on that one. So again, over to you, Steve.
Right, so we're on to this next one, which is Fukuoka through to Keelung. So when we did this last year, a lot of the places, 80% of the places we visited had never had tourism before. So it was a huge learning curve for both sides. A lot of the places we went to, the Japanese people that live there, they've never had any type of, other than the odd person turning up, but to have a ship turn up was a really new experience for them. So we both sides learned a lot from visiting last year. So we've made a number of changes from last year's itinerary to improve it. And hopefully, particularly there's water activities on this voyage. They were quite testing last year. The Japanese fishing unions are very powerful over there, and they made some of our water activities quite quite difficult. But we've been working with them very, very closely this year, and we've got quite a good relationships going on. So that's good. Anyway, we kick off out of Fukuoka late in the afternoon, and then overnight down into Nagasaki. We've got a few different things there. There's the famous Glover Gardens, Sofukuji Temple, and then Temple Street. For those of you who may have been there, Temple Street's got really great, it's got this fantastic central shopping area that we're going to have a stroll around. We can use the trams there. And it's also, if you've been there, you'll know this, excuse me, it's got a really amazing Chinatown. Absolutely fantastic Chinatown. So definitely those who wish to take an opportunity, you can get in there and have a look around the Chinatown as well. Also, one of the other reasons there, if you want to have a look around and take in the A-Bomb Museum, it's really good. It's a little bit confronting, but It's actually done really well, and if it's something that you are interested in taking in, then you'll absolutely be able to do that. We're going to use the tram. There's trams that are very close to the ship, and they're much easier and more fun to use than sitting on a bus. They're really neat. So we're going to use the tram and to and from the ship, and we're going to have the afternoon tour there to visit the ABOM Museum and take in Spectacles Bridge, walking around the city and those sorts of things. So yeah, it's a really good day. People enjoyed it last year. And as I said, there's the local shopping streets, there's Chinatown. There's also Dejima, which is the Dutch town in Nagasaki. Now, people don't realize the Dutch are there, but they were. So there's that option there as well. So we've got lots of different things. There's also Mount Inasa Ropeway. We're going to offer that in the evening for people that want to do it. We did it during the day last year, and you don't want to do it during the day. It was chaos with these very rowdy but fun Japanese school kids who were having a ball there, but it'll be a much nicer exercise for us in the evening. And it's got really nice views in the evening. So, and that will be those that want to head off at about, 6:30 in the evening. We'll head down and do the Mount Inasa ropeway up, get some night views and come back. So it'll just be an option for people that want to do that. Thanks, Will. On to Shimo Koshiki. Yeah, so Shimo, you're on Kagoshima there.
There we go. Again, I might have missed that one out, Steve.
Okay, all right. So Shimo Koshiki is a place we visited last year as well. I think scenery-wise, it's the most spectacular. And what we're going to do here is be right up the north end of the island, and we're going to have a couple of different options. Those that want to do some hiking can head off, and you guys will head off in a bus down to the walking area, and then the ship's going to pick you up down the bottom at a later time. And option 2, we've got a cultural experience and craft stops for those that don't want to do hiking, and then you'll jump back on board the ship, and the ship is going to move down the coast of Shimo Koshiki and pick up those that are doing the hiking later in the day. So a couple of really different options for those that are active and those that just want to take it easy. Kagoshima, here we go. So a few different things. We've got a chance to have a look at the Cherry and Peace Museum, really interesting place. And it's also home to the old samurai residences. So we will have the opportunity, which is really good, which we didn't have last year, to actually go to the old samurai residences, and we'll be able to stroll around and have a look up close at the residences and the gardens, and have a look how they the areas where the samurai used to live. So the Cherry and Peace Museum is really for it's about the kamikaze pilots, and it's just looking at a different side of it. A lot of them, of course, were just kids and sent off to do that terrible thing, but they've got this really neat peace museum for it, which is definitely worth, and beautiful gardens. There's 7 different gardens around there. So there's the opportunity for that as well. There's the open air museum at Kirishima and the Kuronodake observatory. So lots of different things around there that we can take in. They've got a famous glass making centre there, Kiriko glass, and it's set in the Senengagen Gardens. So that's something if you're interested in crafts. They have some master glass makers there as well, and that is part of it's actually UNESCO, that garden, that Senengagen Garden area. Thanks, Will. Okay, Yakushima. You can see just about all of the places the Japanese local dancers will turn up, or musical groups, and it's usually when just before you're departing, they'll be on the wharf there to do a local musical activity or dance. Sometimes they were there when we arrived as well. So Yakushima is for this day, for us, it is getting out into nature. We've got some really neat boardwalks and hiking. So you can take your pick. If you really want to stretch your legs out, you can. If you just want to do easier boardwalks, you can. You can see the pictures there. It's in just really beautiful forest areas, and it's actually goes right down, and I guess it's based in a ravine because you've got quite big sort of rock faces and cliff faces either side. So atmospheric is how I'd describe it. It's really, it's just set amongst really sort of ancient old cedar trees and kaguri sugi trees, and when you get those stones that are sort of all moss covered and that kind of feel to it. So really nice place to get out into nature. And also here, these guys are the experts at chopstick making. So the guests last year really enjoyed having a crack at making chopsticks. It's not as easy as you might think, but we'll do it in small groups. They can't take all of us at once, but we'll rotate around to those that do want to have a look at how these guys make chopsticks, and you can make your own, and they'll give you a really beautiful package of some chopsticks to take away as well. Thank you. That's all. Oh, there is, Hombo Sochu Storehouse, which is an old Japanese shop that sells Japanese spirits and distilled sweet potato drinks and food and all that kind of stuff. So there's the opportunity to pop in there as well. Yeah. Where are we? Well, I've got something over the top there. Okay.
Amami.
Yeah. So Amami Oshima. This will be the first opportunity for people to get out and do diving and snorkeling. Diving and snorkeling in Japan is heavily regulated, so we can't just go off in our tenders and go diving and snorkeling where we want. It's not allowed. So we have to use local operators, and we have to use their tenders. We're not allowed to use our own tenders. And that's fine. That's just how it is there. So we got a local operator that we used last year as well, that for those of you who are certified divers, you can head off, and they had really good dive there last year. They did a twin dive down the coast a little with the local operator, and we've got some snorkeling opportunities there as well with the local operators, and also some kayaking. For those that do want to have a go at that, you can do that as well. And there's also, if you're not interested in water sports, the most famous place there is the Eson Art Museum, which is absolutely fantastic. There's also the Samugi Silk Textile Factory as well there, which dates back a long way. We've also a new one this year, because they've got this really fantastic forest there called Kinsakubaru. Kinsakubaru Forest, and they offer you can go e-bike riding through there. It's a really amazing forest with these great tracks and paths. So if you want to hire a bike with your partner and don't want to pedal, e-bikes are the way to go. You can just buy some snacks, a drink, and go e-biking through the forest. And you can't get lost in there. It's very well marked and tracked in there. So it's great fun. Someone's wondering what the water temperature there will be. If you think about Sydney or Melbourne in the summer, that would be a fair call with the water around there, maybe a fraction warmer in this area. But I think, Sydney in the summer would be a fair call of water temperature. So those are the activities there, and thank you. Well, we can go on to Okino.
I'll let you pronounce this one.
I call it Okino. Okino is what I call it. It's Okino Irabajima. Okino Irabajima but everyone just calls it Okino. And probably the thing that we did last year that it surprised me a bit, I have to say. We chucked in this caving experience, and I thought, oh my gosh, it is really going to test everybody on board, getting through tiny holes and just having your head above water, etc. But everybody who did go and do it, and you do need to have some agility and some reasonable fitness, they had a ball. So it is with very experienced Japanese guides, and they provide all the gear and the equipment. You'll have some of our team as well. So there is that opportunity there to do that. Let me just, where are you there, Will? Okay, all right. So there's also a chance to get up and do some walking around. You can get up above those sea cave areas on some hikes and walks along there. So we tried to just mix it up with some just different experiences there. If you can decide on board about the caving, the guys will be able to tell you all about it. They did it last year. We'll also have Risa on board, who's our Japanese guide, and she also can explain things for you. But as long as you don't mind being in small spaces and you want to be a bit adventurous and you've got reasonable fitness, it's great fun. You'll have a ball. The other one there is for those that don't want to do that sort of thing of walking, we've just got a really nice small guided walk. It takes in the seaside area, shrines, and then there's some really neat cafes there. So we'll take in some coffee and snacks, or you can have a local Japanese drink at one of the cafes there. So lots of different opportunities. All right, well, we can head down to Okinawa. Right, so with feedback from last year we went into the big port of Naha, and some of you may have been there on other ships or you visited in there. Naha is a really, really big port for large cruise ships, and I didn't feel that it suited us very well. Okinawa is such a really fun place. So we've worked hard this year to add in. We've got a couple of days in Okinawa. One will be from the small port of Matubu, and that will give us access to Nakajin Castle Ruins, which is a UNESCO site. And everyone will be able to do that. It's a really fantastic place. There's also the Ocean Expo Park there as well, which contains the traditional Okinawan villages. Amuro Botanic Gardens is in there as well. So it'll be a really good day. And we'll grab some lunch, and then there's the Bisei Fukuji tree-lined village, which is a very old school traditional village, and it's a really pretty place. And we'll have a chance to get in there and have a look around and enjoy things there. Now, the next day, for those who are on this year, and this may or may not happen last year, it's all about timing, but this year, the second day, we'll have the chance to visit the Okinawan Great Tug of War Festival. If you've ever been to Japanese festival, it's excellent organized chaos. It's great fun. So we will include a couple of hours or 3 hours during the day where we can head in and see this really fun festival first up, and enjoy some time. There's always loads and loads of food stalls and drinky poos and all those sorts of things. And then, of course, the huge tug of war that happens on the main street. And we're just working on a couple of other activities there as well. So we've got a couple of really good days for Okinawa, and just avoiding that big port at Naha, and enjoying a proper look at Okinawa. Okay, Zamami, it's a national park, marine national park. We're very close from Okinawa. It's about 4 hours, 3 hours, very close by ship. So they'll just probably head off at 3 in the morning and be there early. We're going to be anchoring in Zamami there, and we'll do some snorkeling and diving very close by a place called Gahi. And it was really good last year. Good snorkeling, nice diving, and you can walk on the island as well. We're working on getting a glass bottom boat for people to enjoy that as well. And then in the afternoon, do you need Japanese yen to buy things? Yes, you do. We don't carry yen on board the vessel, but there are plenty of opportunities where you can purchase yen or take it out of money machines, or you can bring what you need with you. But there's no shortage of places to get yen. Very easy to do. And then in the afternoon, we'll head over to the village. It's the Zamami village, and which is it's a fantastic place to walk around. You can, at the back of the village, there's the hike starts up to Mount Takasugi, and that's a great walk. It's a really fun walk, and it takes you right up to the top, and you can see right out across the national park. So that for those that want to burn off some calories after lunch, you can do that, or you can just take it easy and enjoy Zamami village. And there's plenty of shops there, plenty of little cafes and food shops and those sorts of things there. Now, Kumijima is a really fun place, but it is also one place that's highly exposed to the weather. And there's always a chance that the weather might stop the ship going in. Sometimes it happens on expeditions. We have a backup day in Zamami. Last year we were able to do Kumijima, which was great. And there'll be diving and snorkeling, and some hikes and walks around there as well. And if the weather turns on us and they can't get the ship into the port, we've got another great day that we can fall back to at Zamami, in the marine park there. So you still get diving and snorkeling. Thanks, Will. What are we on to there?
Nikki Yakojima.
Yakijima. Yeah, so we've got a couple of small villages to visit here as well. And you can see there's plenty of walks here as well, getting out on these boardwalks through this very lava type of rock. So we'll be offering that up. And one of the things we have just confirmed for this year, and we'll do it for next year as well, we often have people who are keen golfers on board. So there's a very famous golf course around here. It's called the Emerald Coast Golf Course. So we've booked a number of spots for a sort of an 8 a.m. tee off where you can do 9 or 18 holes. This will be at your own expense, but if you're a keen golfer, what generally happens with the Emerald Coast Golf Course is they open up at midnight for selling their season of golf opportunities, and it's gone by 10 o'clock the next morning. That's how busy and popular this place is. So we've been able to put aside a few spots, and we're going to send out some details for people doing it this year and for next year. If you can keep that in mind. If you're a keen golfer, that there'll be the opportunity to get out with a fellow golfer and enjoy some. And we'll organise the transfers, and you can hire the clubs and those sorts of things there. Really fun. It's the Japan's premier course is waterside, so it's right on the coast with spectacular views. We've got snorkeling at Marine Garden, which is a really neat little place. Very easy to snorkel as well. Not difficult at all. Okay, Irabote, very remote place, and this is all about nature here. We're going to have some zodiac landings to get ashore at Shirihama. We're going to head up and do the local river cruise at Irichi River. There's hiking paths as well. There's Campera Falls. And then there'll be zodiac transfers back to the ship as well. And hopefully where we're anchoring, it's a nice remote spot that we might be able to do some swimming off the back of the ship and just have a nice relaxed day. It's a really beautiful remote location where we're anchored. And we're just working still on permission from the Japanese authorities to do some snorkeling at Ida Coral Beach. I don't think there'll be a problem, but we're just waiting for Japanese Coast Guards to give their stamp of approval for using tenders there off the back from the back of the ship. Thanks. We can move on to Ishigaki.
Yeah, and on to our final kind of destination slide for these two.
Yeah, so Ishigaki, we've got a day and a half in Ishigaki. We're going to have a new anchorage at Nurgora Bay, and this is a really beautiful place. We'll be able to take in hopefully a swim around there and a snorkel. There's the famous Awamori distillery, and we're going to take the opportunity to have, for those who are interested, it's Japan's premier place for beef, and those who are interested in having a look how they look after their top grade cows, and they are treated like royalty, let me tell you. They get music and all sorts of things. Then you can have a look at that. And there's also the Mount Banner hike up to the lookout as well. We're going to then move about 2 p.m, move the ship around to the bottom part of Ishigaki where the main wharf is, because we need to clear out the next day. So that's only a couple, I think 2 or 3 hours traveling around. The dinner that evening, what we're going to do on board the ship is we've got 2 Japanese master barbecue chefs coming on, and they are going to be doing an entree for people, which is grade 1 Wagyu beef entree, or if you don't eat beef, they'll have they'll probably do something like tempura or maybe a seafood option as well. But that'll happen this year and the next year as well. And there's also one we've just added in, which is manta dive. So if you're a scuba diver, it's just on manta season there. So we're able to head out with the local operator if you're a certified diver, and you can join the Manta Scramble Dive. There's never any guarantees, as you know, about seeing mantas, but it has one of the highest encounter rates of manta rays in the world during the season. So if you're a cert diver, you can do that. There'll be free beach time as well during that day. And then the following day is the last day before we head off to Taiwan. During the morning, we'll head off to Takatomi, which is a small island across the ways. We're going to take the local ferry across, and it's a really great place to walk around and just enjoy a nice relaxing morning with local shops. If you want to take an ox cart ride, you can do that as well. We're going to be back about the day. We'll have lunch, and then officials will come on and clear the ship out of Ishigaki, and you'll be on your way across to Keelan. That's it.
All good. Well, thank you very much, Steve. And you can see that look, I try and keep these webinars to about a 45-minute window, and we've clearly, between me and Steve, have blown that out the water. We've had lots of questions coming in, and I think Steve has addressed many of those kind of as we've gone through the presentation. But any that we haven't answered today, I will absolutely be reaching out to you guys direct in the next kind of 24 hours or so. This was, a 45-minute, pretty much coming up to an hour, let's be honest, presentation on just 2 itineraries. We have, if you want to continue the journey, so we arrive into Keelung, as Steve mentioned, and you don't have to fly back home and the Japanese dream, and we can continue down from Keelung in Taiwan for a pretty epic itinerary down through the really kind of more obscure islands and atolls of the Philippine archipelago. So it's just a little tempter. We're going to be running future webinars on this particular portion of the islands of Japan and Philippine kind of expedition cruise series. As you can see from the hour that we've just covered and the 2 focused itineraries that we highlighted, there is so much to talk about. We do really kind of delve deeply into these destinations that we go to. You'll see that we focus, that the whole ethos of Coral Expeditions is to go where no one goes to, or certainly the big ship lines don't go to, and kind of explore those more kind of remote destinations that don't have that kind of mass tourism, which is the Coral Expedition sweet spot. But if you've got a little bit more time and want to stay on board and continue the ship on Coral Geographer, Keelung down to Manila would be an absolutely fantastic trip. But look, thank you very much for all of your time today. Sorry for going a little bit over our 45-minute window. A big thank you to you, Steve, for providing a bit of detailed insight into some of the destinations. If you guys have got any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the email address and the 1-800 number on the screen. That takes you straight through to our Cairns head office, where we can put you in contact with some of our kind of expert res teams and service teams who can answer any of your questions as well. And likewise, if you are booking via a travel agent, please reach out to them. They can do the research on your behalf, but we're really happy to chat. If any of you who are booked on our imminent 2024 departures, or have jumped in early for our 2025 season, you're going to have an absolutely epic true kind of blue Australian style but Japanese experience. And for any of you who are just kind of considering your options for this year or the next, hopefully we've kind of intrigued you a little bit for a bit of a brief overview of the kind of main highlights of the Japan cruise series, and we hope to see you on board soon. So thank you very much for your time. If you've had to drop out or missed any of today's presentation, you'll automatically get emailed a recording of today and the comments from Steve. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much again, Steve, and we look forward to seeing you on board soon. Cheers, guys.